Have you ever listened to a song and felt like it was written just for you? Or felt recognized and comforted by a piece of music? Art has this remarkable ability of connecting people across space and time, and offers sympathy, empathy, and catharsis between complete strangers. This is Kingston Live, and we sat down with an artist who aspires to spread positivity and compassion through her music and words. Danielle Hope Edwards came to Kingston from Prince Edward County to study education at Queen's University, but she brought her passion for music and poetry along with her. And to Danielle, these two passions are deeply connected. Teachers have the opportunity to inspire and engage young people, and through her compassion and spirituality, Dani writes and performs to connect with audiences and listeners, and offer some of herself to them. We caught up with Dani after her performance at the Skeleton Park Arts Festival to discuss live music, inspiration, and the next steps on her journey.
Kingston just sucks you back in. You leave and then you're like, I gotta get to Kingston.
It seemed like a small town, but there was music everywhere, like at the mansion or the toucan or music, there's always something.
It's a pretty great place.
Dani, hello.
Hello, John.
Thank you for joining me on Kingston Live.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And thank you for a wonderful performance here at Skeleton Park.
It was so fun. Our very first time at Skeleton Park, period, for the festival. And yeah, it was amazing. I love the audience. So
You had the audience.
Oh.
I was watching them. They were into it, yeah.
That's good. Sometimes I can't tell, to be honest, just because...
I was wondering if you could tell from up there, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's different when you're on stage, whereas I've been to my friends performing and I'm in the audience. I'm like, yeah, they were in it. They're like, they were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of the festival, just overall?
I think it's been really great. I didn't get to go for the other days because I don't live in Kingston currently, but I was just walking around before I went on, and there's just so many different booths, and everyone just seems to be having a great time, and it's all just really good vibes.
Out of all of the summer festivals, I think this one is my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it's for a number of reasons. I think, first of all, it's not a booze-based festival, and I like those too. They're a lot of fun too. I was talking to Chris Morris, who runs Back to the Farm. We were chatting about that yesterday, and I was telling him I'm really looking forward to it. But I think there's a different vibe at Skeleton Park, and you probably noticed everybody's here. You know, there's kids running around, there's older people, and everything in between. And it's just great. Like you said, it's got a good vibe, and I think it made sense that it coincided with the Pride Parade too. 'Cause I think they both have this thing where there's no pretense. Everybody's just being themselves and having a good time.
Yeah, no, I just love seeing everyone here. It's really great.
So tell me about how you started playing music at a very young age.
Yes, I did. I would say I officially started playing piano around 6 and writing my own, singing my own songs around age 6. I grew up in a very musical family, so everyone was either singing or playing some type of instrument, so you kind of just joined along with them. And yeah, I kept playing piano ever since. I picked up guitar, I picked up ukulele along the way, but I kept singing and still doing it today. So yeah, but I love it. Music is very much so a part of me and how I grew up and my culture. So it's a part of my daily routine as well, and yeah, I just really love it.
Well, and I could tell, and I think the audience could tell too, because you contradicted this when we spoke a moment ago, but you seemed so relaxed on stage, but apparently you weren't.
Oh, I was really nervous. I was shaking.
No, it did not come off at all. No, like I said, you had the crowd. So
that's good to hear.
Yeah, but it was just so natural too, the way you performed. So you can tell that you've been doing this for a while.
No, I enjoy it. I was telling some of my other friends who perform as well, we all agree, like, as soon as you get into that first song or as soon as you introduce yourself, it's like some of that nervousness goes away.
Yeah.
Or you just enter into the zone. And yeah, I found that here. And I found even with the audience was so welcoming, so it made it that much better to feel more comfortable where I am. So,
yeah, totally. Well, I think as speaking as a musician and somebody who's spoken and knows so many musicians, I think everybody has that feeling of you're nervous when you go on stage, but you love the music and you love performing, and all that just kind of melts away.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That was it.
So let's talk about the present, because you are from Prince Edward County.
Correct.
But you're at Queens,
yes.
And you're going to be a teacher.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So. And I thought it was interesting that you worked some education into your set.
I had to bring the two careers together, the music and the teaching career. Yeah.
But no, thank you for that, because you were talking about Juneteenth.
Yes.
And you took a little survey, and some of the people knew what it was, some of the people didn't.
Yeah.
Could you explain for the listener?
Yeah, so today...
You can educate a little more, please.
Absolutely,
yes.
Yeah. Continue. So today I acknowledged Father's Day, and I also want to acknowledge Juneteenth. And I asked the audience who knows what it is and who doesn't, because I find a lot of people, mainly in Canada, don't, because it's more of a American thing, but it's still a North American thing. So Juneteenth was a celebration of the emancipation of enslaved African people. But the only thing is that this is significant because in southern states like Texas, they were still enslaved for 3 years after they were freed, until they were told, hey, you guys get to be paid for your labor. You've been doing unpaid labor for 3 years now. And that was when all the states had to recognize that African people had to be freed. So I was explaining that it's a celebration of when all of North America was freed of slavery. Doesn't mean they were still treated well right after that, definitely not, but slavery was, they were emancipated and freed. So Juneteenth is a celebration of that among Black cultures, and often a lot of Black cultures who may not know where they came from in Africa, like that's my case. I'm from the Caribbean, where my parents are, my heritage is there, but I don't know beyond that where my culture and roots are. So it's a celebration of that time to come together and be like, hey, this is where we are and we're free, and we're all over the place, but we're freed now. We can celebrate that.
Yeah, and then you brought out something I wasn't familiar with. You called it the Black National Anthem.
Yes.
Yes, what was that all about? 'Cause
Yeah,
I didn't know that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the crowd didn't.
Yeah, and that's totally okay, because I didn't know that until actually a couple years ago. I'd heard it been sung a lot. It's actually a soul song, a spiritual called Lift Every Voice and Sing. And it was dubbed the Black National Anthem later on because it just encompassed everything about the Black diaspora and coming together and realizing, hey, we've come this far. Let's celebrate that, let's acknowledge it. And so Lift Every Voice and Sing is a Negro spiritual to acknowledge that. And a lot of times it's used on Juneteenth. Other times it might be used at festivals. So yeah, I wanted to introduce the lesson and also music, so I decided to sing it today.
Well, thank you for doing that, and thank you for educating us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you came from Prince Edward County to Kingston to study.
Yes.
What were your impressions of Kingston, both as a city and as a music city, when you got here and continue to be here?
As a music city, I found it was very musical. I find Prince Edward County is also very small, and I know a lot of the musicians there, and they're all really awesome people. And then coming to Kingston, it's like a whole other set of musical people. I'm like, wow. And even all the venues that are willing to host people to sing. And so coming to Kingston, the city itself, I didn't really know it too well beforehand. And I just really liked the town itself. I'm very much so a country girl. So going to a big city, not Kingston, like if I went to Toronto or something would be a drastic difference from where I live. So Kingston was kind of like that nice little, it's a city, but it's still small side.
I think a lot of people find that, and that's part of what I like about Kingston. Like, I was born here, I mostly grew up here, I was away for a while, and I came back, and I find Kingston is one of those places where it's big enough that there's lots of stuff going on, like, you know, gestures broadly at everything behind me. My
Literally
man Cacau's playing right now, which I think you can probably hear in the microphone.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I wish I could do both of these things right now. But yeah, Kingston's big enough that there's stuff going on, but not so big that you're going to get shot necessarily. It's not like a scary place like Toronto or Montreal might be. And it's also advantageous that it's in between the two.
Yeah, that's true.
I think is appealing to a lot of people, both musical and otherwise. Yeah.
No, I love Kingston. I love coming back to visit it, especially during the school year. So.
It's too bad you don't see more of it in the summer.
Yeah, because I find that's also where the music scene is amped up more.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, let's get back to the music. I don't even know where to start. Maybe like inspiration and writing and that sort of thing? Because you said you've been writing for a long time.
Yes.
So where does writing come from for you? What inspires you?
From now, I'd say I mentioned on stage that I like to write a lot of poetry. And so a lot of the times the lyrics that flow are a time where I'm just reflecting on something I'm going through or something I want to say, but it's not quite coming through in words. So I write lyrics or poems. And I was often inspired by songwriters like Alicia Keys or Jacob Collier or Whitney Houston, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, because they just have their own style and they just do, like they put their heart and soul into it, and that's something I wanted to do. And my style's a little different, but it's very singer-songwritery, I'd say. And yeah, my inspiration is literally either something I'm going through or want to express at the time, and it just kind of flows out of me in that way. Yeah,
and I know that you've spoken publicly about the connection between creativity and music and mental health as well. Yeah,
I love to advocate for wellness and mental health awareness. On my Instagram, if you see there, I often will post things referring to that. I grew up being really unable to open up about my mental health, and so when I would struggle with it, there wasn't always an outlet that I could have, but music was one of those outlets that I had. So now that I'm able to have healthier outlets for mental health and also keep up with music, I also want to use that to maybe help others who might be going through the same thing, where they could either be like, oh, I relate to that, or oh, like she's going through something I'm going through, or that, oh, like I'm not the only one, or I can get through this, or even if you don't feel like you can, knowing that you're not the only one. So ultimately, I just want to put the message out there that you're never alone. And there are people who genuinely care and love for you. And some of them you might not even know yet. But you're still worthy, you're still loved, and your life is worth living. It is not a mistake.
Absolutely. No, I had a friend recently who was having some very dark thoughts that they were sharing online, and it was amazing. There was this just network of people that kind of came together and reached out. So
that's good.
It's nice to see that kind of thing. And you seem to be on the right track, because like you and I, we don't know each other really well. We've spoken before. We were connected on social media.
Yeah.
But you just seem to have a very positive disposition, and which is very refreshing, because I feel like it's almost become fashionable these days to be cynical and despondent about the world. But you just seem very positive. Like, are you just naturally kind of positively charged, or where does that come from? What's going on?
Thank you. I'd say honestly that joy is not mine. I'd honestly say it's God's, and he just shines it through me. But yeah, it's something that, because like I've been through those dark times that you would see me and it'd be like night and day. And yeah, I've been able to have family and friends who have been encouraging to me through this time, and I just try to hold on to hope and knowing that life isn't always going to be positive, and that's just the reality of it. But you can still, it's for me, it's a mindset thing. So even if I'm going through a hard time, having the mindset that either I've been through it before, I can get through it again, or either way, I'm just going to try my best to get through this, and trying to share that to others, because there's a lot of negativity in the world, and I'd rather not add to it. So yeah, that's
rather push back on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that's great. So what's coming up for you? What does the future hold for you?
Whoa.
musically and otherwise?
Well, musically, I am working on my EP right now. I'm recording it with producer Nate Hardy. He's also a good friend of mine, and I've been working on some more music behind the scenes. Like Adore You was actually written last month, and yeah, sometimes there's just a surge of music writing that comes through. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I've been doing some teaching practicums as I'm coming into my second last year of concurrent education, and just working and trying to take my time and relax, because I tend to do a lot at once, but it's still okay to take those times for yourself.
It's tough when you like a lot of things. It's easy to get overwhelmed and have what I've heard called the shiny object syndrome, where you're just chasing all this exciting stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's so much brokenness in this world. And sometimes it just feels like we're on a twirl. Hopelessness abounds in the heart that's falling, and some are waiting to find their calling. Maybe the change is coming sooner than we thought, or maybe the change was in us all along. Will you bear with and be a friend? You may not even understand where unconditional love begins. Love stands before. Walk a mile in your neighbor's shoes. With shared love, there's not much to lose. When we take a stand and choose, love stands after. And what about the marginalized? And what about the children? Do you see their eyes? Their empty stomachs hurting. Do you sympathize, or do you turn your eyes? Do you see a change is coming? But are we willing to step in unity and start consuming the evil in this world that makes us hopeless and hurt and pain? Will you bear with and be a friend? You may not even understand where unconditional love begins. Love stands before. Walk a mile in your neighbor's shoes. With shared love, there's not much to lose. When we take a stand and choose, love stands after. See, some think that unity means we have to be the same. But unity is when we choose to walk in a shared name, and let love be thy name, and let love be thy name indeed and in truth. So will you bear with and be a friend? The truth is, you may not even understand, but where unconditional love begins, love stands before. Walk a mile in your neighbor's shoes. With shared love, there's not much to
Thank you for listening to Kingston Live. Be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out our new website, kingstonlive.ca. You can also hear our sister show, Kingston Live On Air, on Amherst Island Radio 92.1 FM and CFRC 101.9 FM.
You're pursuing teaching. Is music going to continue with that? How are those going to balance, or do you know? Have you figured that out yet?
This is still something that I'm figuring out because I debated going into a major of music, but I knew I didn't want to just teach music if that was the case. So I'm teaching elementary where I can teach music classes and other subjects, but my desire for teaching is more about being a teacher that is able to be there for students and for their well-being and their educational needs, because that's also a big part of where my heart is. And the music or poems I write, also I think of youth a lot of times, or I think of myself when I was that age, because one quote that keeps me going is, be the person that you needed when you were a kid. So I try to set that example in my life, and I look at the youth, I'm like, okay, what do they need? What is something they need in a teacher? And that's what I want to be. But yeah, music kind of overlaps in the way, but it's I feel like those worlds are the same and different at the same time, because my music is very personal to me and a great desire of my heart. And then teaching and working with youth is also very personal to me and a great desire of my heart. So I think at this stage, I'm still working out if they will intertwine more, less, but yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Any upcoming shows? When can we see you next?
Well, you know what? I'm taking the month of July off.
Okay.
But other than that, I have been talking with a few people, but I'm not going to say anything just in case it's not confirmed yet. But you will definitely be seeing my EP coming out this year. And then any other updates on shows and such, my Instagram and my Facebook page is where you'll find all of that. And yeah.
We'll drop some links in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been interesting. I've said many times in this podcast before, we've been sort of chronicling the COVID experience as it pertains to a music scene.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, as an artist and as a person, what was your experience? You know, good or bad? I know a lot of people, it was a really hard time.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, like Cal, who's playing right now, you know, it was an opportunity to just, okay, I've got time. I'm just going to produce like crazy and put out as much music as I possibly can. Yeah. What was it like for you?
For me, it was a mix of actually good and bad, because again, I'm still very new to the solo music gigs, because I used to perform with my family or with my siblings. So I think that aspect of not being able to perform live was really hard, because I missed engaging and with the audience and people that would come to see you. But then that was also the year that I released music for the first time, and I don't think I would have that quickly if it hadn't been that case.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it also, like, COVID was a devastating time for a lot of people, and also a time to rebirth things. And I think in me it rebirthed why I want to go into music again and what I originally came to represent. And yeah, I just want to continue in that even now.
Yeah, I find a lot of people, and I'm finding this more as we're sort of coming out of COVID, hopefully, and people are reintegrating. I'm finding that people are coming out as almost more extreme versions of themselves. You know, with that isolation.
Yeah.
You're able to sort of, you know, for better or worse, you're able to, sort of get back to who you are without a lot of external influence. And I think there's another side to not having that external influence, because some people are coming out a little, you know, some people are, I've said, are like, feel like rescue animals right now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think it has been an opportunity to kind of, you know, get back to zero and figure out where your priorities are.
Yeah, and when a lot of people see me, they assume I'm an extrovert. I actually have very much so introverted side of me, which I think shows when as you mentioned earlier, I have a soft-spoken voice, but then when I sing, it's like more powerful. Like, that's me, like night and day. I can be extroverted one moment and very much so introverted. So being at a time of very much so always introverted or alone or in solitude during the pandemic, it gave me that time also that I needed to just be broken in the way and not have to put it together for those around me necessarily, but just be able to be broken in myself, and then just not even build myself up, but just like loving those broken parts and just continuing in the journey of life. And yeah, so I'd say that was a highlight of my COVID days, which is an odd thing to say, but
yeah. Danny, thank you so much for a wonderful performance and for taking the time to speak to us today.
Yeah, so thank you so much. It was really great. Definitely want to come back for Skeleton Park Arts Festival. And thank you so much for having me, John.
This has been Kingston Live. We encourage you to rate us on your listening platform of choice and subscribe where possible. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. Kingston Live was produced in Kingston by Titan Sound. Hosted by John Sanfilippo. Voiceovers by Riley Jabor. Writing and research by Peter Sanfilippo. Executive producer Rob Howard. Kingston Live is a member of the Canadian Live Music Association. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@kingstonlive.ca.